This is Ian Bailey with Ian on Personality. Today I'm going to discuss the X-Men and their personalities. X-Men has always been one of my favorite series, set of superheroes. And call me immature, call me infantile. I know it's very popular now. But it's like any other story you read, any other science fiction. You know, certain characters speak to you. Maybe if it's non-fiction, characters speak to you. It's not just out of pure infantile joy, but the characters are very compelling. Um, so let's start with Cyclops. So Cyclops, he always wants to do the right thing and stick with Professor X. He's very much a sustainer personality, probably sustainer investigative, one of the later sustainers. You know, the type that's very much more organized and feels like they have a sense of duty. Not just a double sustainer, not just somebody who's more following the crowd. So that's Cyclops. Professor X himself, of course, is the investigative personality, very advanced form of it. He's very smart, intellectual, and just like many good investigators, he's very intuitive. So his superpowers are symbolic. You know, people's superpowers are symbolic of their personality, of the archetype they're trying to present. So Cyclops will, zap you with his eyes. That represents how later Chesed can be cynical or incisive based on how they choose to decide to act. So Professor X can read people's minds and change their opinion. So that represents how investigative people can intuitively understand people, how they can get into their heads or convince them of things. So Magneto obviously is the commanding or monarch personality, extremely dominating, very defensive. Like many monarchs, he had a childhood there that he was smashed down, squashed down. Just like King David was the despised stone. So he always has his discussions with Professor Xavier. Professor Xavier wants to take the high road, he wants to be supportive and work together. Magneto is sick of it. He wants to dominate and bring the more advanced species to the world. And then Raven Mystique, she is a guardian personality with some creative in there. So she just like many guardians can adapt to situations. That's what they're very good at. They're very adaptive and aggressive to situations. That's how Mystique does things. Her morphing her the way she looks is representative of her the guarding person's ability to blend into different situations, and that's why you have this little love triangle. So people who are guarding like people who are investigative, like a little father figure. They respect people that are tough-minded. But guardian people also like commanding people, monarch people, because they're very strong-willed and they like to listen to them and go after them. So it's either strong-willed mind or strong-willed interpersonal force. That's the love triangle there. Explains everything. Explains everything. So Jean Grey is a very advanced, powerful, creative type of person. The whole X-Men is very symbolic for certain minority groups. It represents teenage kids who don't feel like they fit in, or represents Jews, or represents minority groups. The reason why Jean is revered here is because she's a very advanced, creative type of person. And that also explains her love triangle. Again, the creative personality, it's not necessarily doing art all day, but she represents, freedom and, the fact that creativity can be influential, or open-minded thinking can be influential. The only level 5 mutant. Explains her love triangle. So people that are creative, they prefer certain types of personalities to marry. They can marry many people, but if they want to keep life simple, they go with the sustaining type. So that's why she likes Cyclops. She's with them, keeps life simple. But they also like connective people. So Wolverine comes, who's my favorite. I relate to him a lot. So Wolverine is this person who is out of the box, but he wants to help and be good. He doesn't like to be part of the group. He likes to do his thing. He gets very mad. He has a secondary quality of commanding. Don't get me wrong. He's not just pure connective. He's not suave. He's very powerful. But his powers, where he regenerates, represents the fact that he does get hurt. Creative people do get hurt, but they come back for more. And they come back to try to fight against the commanding people. The commanding versus connective is a very huge fight in our world. It's like democracy versus monarchy. Theocracy versus republic. So that's all encapsulated in Wolverine. He can be very powerful. He can be very convincing. But at the same time, he's not always domineering and controlling like Magneto. And so the creative Jean likes the sustaining Cyclops, and she also likes Wolverine because creative people like connective people, like the big thinkers and revolutionaries. They're both individualists types. Yeah, okay, so that's a basic rundown. Then you go through all the characters, you know, all the bad guys. So many of them are the commanding personality, you know, Omega Red, and then new movie coming, Apocalypse. Apocalypse is like the ultimate commanding person. Just how are we ever going to defeat him, right? So then, you know, Colossus is like a commanding kind of person because he's very powerful, hard to knock over and ruin. But he's more like commanding, sustaining. He's more just wants to be a cog in the piece. He's not a super villain or a super hero per se, and the lead kind of people. Okay, so that's a basic rundown of the X-Men. Again, this is a second step because we have the classic archetypes here for good guys and bad guys, but we have explanations of the superpowers as symbolic of extensions of the personality. The superpowers are the extension of the personality in an extreme way. So we can relate to it, even though it's magical. It's interesting, it's cool, but it's something that relates to our world.